Trent Cotney and John Kenney are dedicated to helping the construction industry with legal business and safety challenges. Welcome to this week's episode of Law and Mortar.
Hey, this is Trent Cotney. I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of Law and Mortar. As always, I've got John Kenney with me, the man, the myth, the legend. John, how are you doing?
Doing great. And I got to say, I'm always looking forward to doing these and getting that voice out in the industry. It's a great time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, it's interesting. We were chatting a little bit beforehand, talking about technology, and figured this would be a good time. Every once in a while, we do one of our podcasts just kind of dedicated to technology. So, this week I flew out to Dallas and I was speaking at an event. We were talking about AI and construction, and it's weird because John, you probably see this. There's two groups of people. There's people that dabble in it and use it, and then there's people that have no idea what it is and thinks it's like robots or stuff like that, right? And I could tell, in the audience, it was a fairly big audience, and you could see people that were basically like, "Yeah, I get," and then there were other people that you could just see their heads exploding. But AI in construction is here to stay, and we're seeing it more and more. I'm curious, as you're talking to contractors, you're on the road as much as I am. Where are you seeing it being used in construction, and how do you see it being used in the future?
Well, I think most of it is exactly what you said. It's kind of dabbling, they're experimenting with it. I think the most successful that I've heard people using it for is modifying existing stuff within their company to update it to kind of give them that, get you there like 85%, and then we'll tune it up. Email, I've talked to a couple contractors that are using it for, here's my email. Can you shorten it up for them? Stuff like that. Can you condense it or whatever? I see that, and I'm starting to see people using it for proposals. And then again, like I said, you got to take caution to this. You got to make sure it's really your proposal and your scope. One thing AI still does, at least in my opinion, from what I've been dabbling in it, is if it doesn't know the exact answer to something, it's going to make something up. It's going to give you something in there. So proofreading is real important. So interesting enough, where's it going to go? I think the AI, like the chat GPTs and the things like that, yes, we're going to use them. They're going to become more and more involved with the chat bots and all those things. But I think the true potential in AI is going to be with robotics in the construction industry. I've been doing a lot of research and looking into that. There's a company in North Carolina that is starting to take robots and ship them to different parts of the construction industry with their own AI that they've developed. And I'll give you an example where when I looked into this, their one training video, they took these robots and took this Magic Johnson and a couple other sports figures, and they took their films over a couple years and they trained these robots. They completely, now, of course, they're not the same as humans, but they were able to do the same maneuvering and the same shots and the same layups and everything that the sports stars did or the baseball. Now, do I think that's important? I mean, that's cool they could do that. But rather than have four-legged robots like we're used to, these are humanoid two-legged. They're starting to use them in drywall. These are all experimental stages. But the point is, I think in roofing, you're going to see actual robots on the roof, in my opinion, within 5 years. And they're going to
Yeah,
fall, but you're going to see them.
yeah, absolutely. This and the labor shortage, and then we talked last time about immigration, how that's going to impact labor even further. Anytime you got that gap, you're going to have automation and technology fill it. It's just a matter of time. It's too labor intensive. So, artificial intelligence, I'm like you. I see it. I think its first uses were customer service and marketing. It can do a lot of those tasks and do them pretty well. Communication, emails, you mentioned that. Summarization. I've seen it used on top of existing estimating, but you got to be really careful there. It's just like, there's no, this being the master of everything estimating. It's you can rely on pictometry, you can rely on a lot of technology, but nothing replaces actually seeing the roof and looking at it and seeing what's going on. You can't do that all the time, but you're seeing some improvements there. I'm seeing AI. I was talking to a distributor that was using it for quality control and logistics, help help flag, potential problems within pipelines and create sort of a predictive analysis of, what they would need to order, when they would need to order it, identifying problems with manufacturing equipment before it happens, that kind of stuff. So definitely seeing it being used. I think my advice to anybody out there is the more you dabble with it, myself included, the more you realize what the capability is. And to me, time is more valuable than money any day, right? So if I can shave off an hour of my day by helping with using a program to help me, then that's going to be worth every penny that I got to spend on it. So I think there's a lot of benefit there. That kind of leads me to my next thing. We're heading off to International Roofing Expo in San Antonio, biggest event for us in the year. And something that caught my eye was that you're on a panel for the roofing technology think tank. We've been involved with that for quite some time, but I know you're actively involved. And, I'm hoping that I don't have a conflicting seminar I got to do at the same time. But what's some of the topics you think you guys are going to cover on that panel? Is there anything that you kind of discussed in advance, or how's it going to
Yeah.
work? Are you keeping it open or what?
We're gonna try. Well, first of all, we're cut back to an hour this year at IRE instead of the normal hour and a half we're all used to. So we got it. We want to keep the panel where we leave plenty of time for questions. We think we're going to get a lot of questions. So we're going to cover multiple areas. We're going to talk about some of the projects that RT3 has completed in technology over the last 2 years. One of them being is our business roofing contractors maturity guide, which not enough people are aware of or using. We took a lot of time doing this. We broke it into 5 stages, from one being newbie going out and starting a company, all the way up to five being the oiled machine, possibly 2, 3 generations down the road. And what's important with that is we covered the different steps that you get to expect as you're growing your company. So that's one. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get in. We actually just put an AI guide together that we haven't released. We're going to release that at IRE. And it's a good generalization because, as you said earlier, either the roofing is kind of broken into two groups. We got a lot of the younger people coming up that are not afraid of AI and they are dabbling in it and they're using it. And then we've got a group of contractors that are staying away from it like it's another bubonic plague out there for sure.
Right.
But we're going to dabble in that. Then we're going to talk about some other things that are out there. We're going to talk about robotics, how they're coming
Mhm.
into the industry, and we're probably going to talk about the 3D printing and other things. We're going to talk about the technology that we see that's going to most affect the roofing industry in the next, say, 5 years.
So with the decreased amount of time, are you still going to leave it open for some questions from the audience, or how
We
does that
are.
work?
We've actually got this down to where we're going to talk about this. It's going to be condensed, bullet points, get it out, open it up, and ask us questions. It's not just going to be sitting there for an hour while we present. I want to Heidi from Roofers Coffee Shop is going to be the panel, running the panel of all four of us. And
Mhm.
that's the whole goal, is to keep this thing moving so people can actually ask the questions. Because I personally, myself, I expect a whole lot of questions coming from the audience because these are
Yeah,
lively topics.
yeah, absolutely. And having that kind of interaction makes it more exciting anyway. And then I know
It,
you're speaking later in the week as well, right?
these are both on Friday. I got one earlier
Okay.
on Friday as well. RT3 is first in the morning, and then this one follows up. I'm also on a panel with another person. We're going to be talking with Jeff from Castagra. We're going to be talking about maintenance agreements and running your maintenance department. And I actually plan on getting into a little bit of as a surprise, and everybody is getting to realize this, and probably not even my partner Jeff at this point. But I am going to talk a little bit of how you can use AI to manage these maintenance agreements and stuff. There's a lot of things AI can really help you on task oriented management.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you got a full schedule. I know I am doing the how to manage sub labor, legal issues with sub labor. I believe that is on Friday. I'm not sure which time slot. And I tell you, I've got about 2 pages of schedule here that I got to figure out. So that'll be a weekend assignment. But yeah, looking forward to it. Always a good time, and I'm sure I'll see you there. And
Yeah, well, that's a super important topic, is managing sub labor.
yeah,
That's open to proper quality. That covers the three that I always bring up in everything we talk about. What? There's safety, quality, and production. And honestly, subs, safety and quality are really hard to manage unless you do it right.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's always an exciting event. I'm looking forward to. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but you get to see a lot of new faces there. I like going to the roof pack reception and kind of seeing people there, and maybe winning something occasionally. But yeah, looking forward to that event, and encourage anybody that's there. Stop by and say hi if you attend one of our seminars, or are out on trade shows. Say hi to us. John, I want to turn to a question, and we're backed up, but I got one that was, I figured we were talking about technology, so wanted to get one that was directly on point.
Cool.
Okay. And this is from Susan. Susan's question is condensing it. I could probably use AI to condense this, but the question is what AI program would you recommend using? Um, I'll give you sort of my 2 cents on it. I have tried Copilot, I've tried Gemini, I've tried Chat GPT free and Chat GPT plus. And my favorite is Chat GPT plus. It costs a little bit more, but I seem to get a little bit better responses. Gemini was pretty good. Copilot's very basic. I've been using the free version. Not bad, but fairly basic. I think it's just kind of what you prefer and how you go about using it. John, what do you use?
Yeah, I use the plus on ChatGPT. I've tried the other ones too. I think if you want to use it for general use, honestly, I think that's the one where all the money's being put into and the training at this
Hmm.
point, and they gather most information. And again, why I use the plus is probably the same way you do. When you get off of the free version, it actually trains to your knowledge base a lot more. It picks up on your keywords and things better. Yeah, if you're going to use freebasing, that's the way to go, in my opinion. But you're gonna get swamped. Susan, right? Yeah, Susan, you're gonna get swamped out there. If you go to the IRE this year, I guarantee you're gonna see 1,000 products are gonna be tied into AI somewhere. And it's either gonna be leads, marketing, sales. And I do know in estimating, they're starting to get into the digital upload your plans and take it off. Again, you got to trust and verify and figure out what may be best for you to use once you get beyond that. I'm just going to use this to on my own program and try it out.
Yeah, AI has become like the new, bandwagon. Every piece of software says they use some component of AI, but yeah, you definitely trust but verify. That's always the key. So, with that, John, that concludes another episode of Law and Mortar as we rapidly approach our 100th episode. I'd like to thank everybody for making us number one construction law podcast out there. Stay tuned next week, hopefully, or the week after, we'll get another one up, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of changes to discuss then. If you want to reach me, you can hit me up on social at Trent Cotney or email trent.cotney@arlaw.com. John, how can I get you?
Yeah, social on LinkedIn for sure. I'm always on there and active, and I post a lot of roofing history, and you do too, Trent. You can get us on there, or you can get me directly at jkenny@cotneyconsulting.com.
Great. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care now.